Yesterday, a lot unfolded when it comes to Alabama football and Coach DeBoer's staff. One guy took off for Tennessee before ever coaching a game. Alabama got two coaches from Baylor, and they filled out the staff. And they also got that SEC guy that I felt like this staff really needed, not just for coaching, but also recruiting. We're going to talk about that right here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. That's a great way of saying roll tide. Let's get this party started. What do you say, everybody? I'm Mick Gillispie. Welcome to the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. I'm at Broadcaster Mick on the socials, and it is great to have you on the show today. And there's a lot to talk about. Yesterday was one of those crazy Alabama football coaching days where you just can't predict what's going to happen as far as the coaches are concerned. And there's not a lot of loyalty in the coaching ranks. I mean, you think the transfer portal's crazy. Yesterday, in coaching was just as wild. But let me remind you guys that we're brought to you by Pearl River Resort over in Choctaw, Mississippi, Philadelphia, Mississippi, not PA, the other Philly. And there you got Golden Moon Casino with the Timeout Sports Lounge and Sportsbook. Golden Moon Casino has a spa, table games, slots, and you got also Dancing Rabbit Golf Course, which is the Augusta you can play. Great acts coming up, including the Wallflowers, Lone Star, Brian McKnight, and many more as Pearl River Resort celebrates 30 years. All right, let's get started here. And this is a lot to take in. And you know, yesterday was like every time you turn around, it was like something else. So now that the dust is settled, let's start right here. William Inge taking the Tennessee job. He was Alabama's linebackers coach. Then he's going to join Josh Heupel at Tennessee. Here's a guy who came with Coach DeBoer from Washington to Alabama, never coached a game, and off he goes. Alabama, which I still think this is something that the staff has really needed. They add a guy that brings in a ton of SEC experience, and that is Christian Robinson. And I felt like this was important. You look at the staff, and it's from what I'm hearing around the state, really good guys making great connections, but you just felt like if Alabama's going to continue their dominance, it's going to start by keeping the big fence up around Alabama, and then, you know, in the panhandle of Florida and in Georgia and in Mississippi and in Tennessee, Memphis and Nashville area and in Louisiana, and get those guys out of Texas. You got to lock down the South, right? And I felt like that's why we needed to talk about the UnderArmour Next Camp that took place outside of Atlanta over the weekend, and, you know, kind of what that meant to Alabama with all those big time recruits there. And with Nick Saban, you were always in the conversation with just about everyone that you wanted. You know, Coach DeBoer did a great job of closing, but now all of a sudden there is no Coach Saban helping Alabama anymore. It's up to Coach DeBoer, and he's got to figure out how to get those guys to stay interested. And having a guy who brings in that SEC experience is going to help. So Robinson does. Of the guys that join the staff, he's got the most SEC experience. And I see his plan here. He's going to try to get to every school in the SEC. So Alabama will be his sixth SEC school that he's worked at. Now, he comes from Florida and Auburn. He was at Baylor before Alabama plucked him out of there, right? Georgia, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State, he was a graduate assistant. So, guy that comes in, has the SEC experience we talked about. He was Baylor's linebackers coach, and now he's coming to Tuscaloosa. And obviously, this happened so fast. I mean, 1 minute, Inge is going to Tennessee. The next minute, Robinson is coming to Tuscaloosa. Adam Rittenberg of ESPN has been breaking all these stories. He's got to be tired of writing all the time, but he's had a lot to talk about when it comes to Alabama over the last day or so. All right, so that's the first one. Now, the second one that I wanted to get into is Bryan Ellis, and Ellis kind of sticks with that same, that same thing we're hearing where and seeing with this staff, where Alabama is really interested in guys that bring offensive coordinator experience. And it's like a whole staff of guys who have been coordinators. And he's another one. He was the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Georgia Southern. He has worked at Western Kentucky a few times. 2 stints there, but he's a Macon, Georgia guy who played quarterback at UAB. So he understands the area. He was a coach at Western Kentucky from 2014 to 16, moved right up the ranks. 2017 and 18, he went out to USC, offensive assistant, quarterbacks coach, then back to Western Kentucky as offensive coordinator, co-offensive coordinator, and then offensive coordinator at Georgia Southern. So brings in some great postseason experience as well. Cotton Bowl, bowl game experience, Myrtle Beach, Baton Rouge, Lending Tree, first responders. Yeah, the Cotton Bowl in 2017. I thought so when he was at USC, right? Would have been against Ohio State. And Bahamas Bowl. So he knows how to have a good time. No, I think that this is another one of those hires where you look at it and you can tell that Coach DeBoer likes to bring in people that he feels like he can count on that bring a lot of leadership to the table. And I get it. We make fun of the amount of offensive coordinators and associate head coaches and all of that stuff, but titles are important to guys. They come with prestige and respect. And Ellis is a guy who brings a lot to the table in that category. So he'll be the tight ends coach in Tuscaloosa with, a lot of room to move. And the way that things have gone, who knows when he'll be the offensive coordinator at Alabama. But when you go to Western Kentucky, you're talking about that high-octane passing game. You're talking about an offense that scores points. They were dangerous. Georgia Southern was a team who could score a lot of points, very dangerous. You didn't want to play them. And so, made their first ever bowl game and all that stuff, transitioning into the big leagues and of college football anyway. And then now he comes to Alabama. And finally, we talked about Chris Kapilovic on a video yesterday. You can check that out. But just to kind of recap that, this was the hire that a lot of you guys were very concerned about. You were, or maybe you were just really looking forward to it. But Kapilovic is a coach who has, again, a lot of experience. He just got to Baylor, so he hasn't coached at Baylor, but he was at Michigan State, helped them establish that amazing running attack. The year that Kenneth Walker ran over everybody and straight into the NFL for Seattle. He was, running backs and offensive line, the run game coordinator. And he comes to Tuscaloosa with an opportunity again to take advantage of experience as a coordinator. And you really get the feel. Now, he was assistant head coach, offensive line, run game coordinator at Michigan State, 21 to 23, and did offensive lines there before that. He was the assistant head coach and offensive coordinator at North Carolina for the Tar Heels, 2016 to 18. And then, just kind of touch base with Baylor before coming to Alabama. And we know that feeling. Inge just did that to us going to Texas. So that's where we are right now. Anything can change. Obviously, we'll keep an eye on that. But I think at the end of the day, what you're seeing is a staff of experience. Coach DeBoer dealing with this day and age of college football. And as guys have left, He's gone out and brought in really good replacements. I thought the staff needed some more SEC ties. He was able to do that. You're also talking about coaches who have recruited and been in the South. Don't forget that Kapilovic was a coach at Alabama State. He was at Georgia Southern. And so he's got his experience in the South. So that's good where you kind of, keep those guys who have relationships with the high school coaches in place for the recruiting aspect of things, and then understanding the competition that they're going to be dealing with when you got to play teams like Georgia and Auburn and Tennessee on your schedule, LSU. So that's where we are right now. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're going to continue to keep an eye on everything going on. And again, lots of stuff breaking, but appreciate you hanging out with us. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. And a big roll tide, everybody, as we get one step closer to seeing this staff on the field for Alabama in that 8A game, as practice for the springtime is just around the corner.